You have this ticket forever. For as long as this lottery is open, you will always be a participant. Well, are you going to be the idiot who doesn't buy a ticket? Of course not. Hell, I've lost more money than that at a casino. Of course I'd buy a lottery ticket that never expires. That's basically what Bitcoin is. You don't know what it'll become. But if you put some money in that you're willing to lose anyway, who cares if it drops to zero? If it has the potential of making 20 times or 100 times, that's incredible. You want to be part of that ride. All right, this whole video is not going to be arguing why you should have Bitcoin. It's going to be going over all the arguments against Bitcoin, because I think that's the way that I got convinced. You see, I should have been on the Bitcoin bandwagon for years. I'm exactly in the target demographic for it. I'm the right age. I care about technology. I like thinking about monetary policy and changes to the world, but somehow the Bitcoin bugs never really, their arguments never really took hold until I started to look at all the reasons people said that you shouldn't use Bitcoin. And as soon as I started thinking about it, I was like, hey, wait a second. These arguments are terrible. So in this video, I want to go through each and every one of them. All right, argument number one, that the value of Bitcoin will drop to $0. This is very interesting because there's a lot of things that I buy, that you buy, that drop to $0 the moment you buy it, right? Or very low. The moment you buy a car, it drops 50% of its value when you drive it off the lot. But aside from that, think of all the subscriptions that you have. Think of the money spent on alcohol and travel and trips. These are all things that you're not expecting to turn a buck on. You just want you want the experience. You want a chance at something better than what you have right now. And that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is an option, an opportunity to take part in something that can actually be very significant later on. Not even just about the money, just the idea of Bitcoin, to be part of it. And since there's no real minimum cost to getting in, what's the harm in putting $20 in, $100 in? None. I mean, I used to spend that going to the bar. So that it would drop to zero, it's not really a convincing argument because we buy things all the time that drop to zero. People say that Bitcoin is not worth anything, right? It's not like a table. It's not like this mic. It's not a tangible thing that's worth something. Well, that argument might have worked 200 years ago, but we live in a digital age. We know all about software. We know how zeros and ones in a computer can come together to create an algorithm, to create a process, to create something that's actually valuable to you, right? No one's going to say that Microsoft Office isn't a valuable product just because you can't touch it and it lives in software. Well, Bitcoin is sort of the same thing too, right? It's a digital asset. It's something that proves its value online. And the worth of something isn't based on whether or not it's physical. It's based on whether or not it solves a problem, right? Does it solve a problem for the people who use it? And obviously that's true for Bitcoin. People who use Bitcoin want to be able to transact anonymously to some degree, and they want to be able to transfer money over long distances without any border restrictions, without needing a bank account. They want to be able to send their money to anybody, anytime, and they can. So Bitcoin solves a problem, and thus it has to have an intrinsic value. So it's not worth nothing. Something else people say is that Bitcoin will be made illegal one day. That if it competes too strongly with currency, if it competes too strongly with any of the money we have already, that the governments will make it illegal. All right. Well, I like this argument because I do think it's true. I think that if Bitcoin becomes too competitive to the government-issued currency, that they might make it illegal because the government wants to be part of your business. They want to get a cut of whatever transactions are happening inside the world. I mean, you can't make more than a certain amount of money before the government wants a share. So I totally understand that. But that to me proves that if that happens, that Bitcoin is in fact valuable. Because Bitcoin is not harmful to anything. And if the government makes anything illegal that's not harmful, then it means it has to be valuable. In fact, it has to be so valuable that they're scared, and so they have to make it illegal. So I like that argument. But wouldn't you rather be part of something that could be so valuable that it becomes illegal? I don't know. It sort of tickles me. I like that. Bitcoin is supposed to be a source of privacy, right? You're supposed to be able to transmit this money or hold Bitcoin and transact in it completely anonymously. So what some of the critics say for Bitcoin is that there's been all kinds of hacks that have occurred with Bitcoin. Not actually the Bitcoin itself, but with the accounts that hold Bitcoin and with some of the transactions. But the thing is, that's true for all our financial transactions. We hear about fraud all the time that occurs, just with our regular bank accounts. In fact, when we came to near field communication, the tap on your credit card and your debit card, there were people walking around with devices that could just tap your pocket and take money out of your account. Right? New technologies are sometimes vulnerable to security hacks. My computer, if you don't have a proper VPN, if you don't have a proper password protector, you can do all kinds. Look, I'm a programmer. I know you can do all kinds of things in order to capture people's personal information. So, all right, Bitcoin isn't the most secure asset, but it's far more secure than a lot of the systems we use already. Plus, it's built with security in mind, which is not what a lot of our financial systems are set up to do. Let's see here. Oh, your privacy isn't guaranteed. Your privacy can't be guaranteed with Bitcoin. People say that, fine, one of the main benefits of having Bitcoin is that you can transact privately. But that's not necessarily guaranteed. That there could be new things that are created in the future that are able to reverse engineer a Bitcoin and uncover your transactions. Quantum computers will come and be able to figure out what it is you actually bought. Okay. Well, I mean, if you really care about that sort of privacy, if you really care about that sort of encryption, you're probably already on the Bitcoin bandwagon, or you know a lot more about it than I do. But as far as I'm concerned, and a lot of you are concerned, we don't really care if people see what our transactions are. Am I right? People see our transactions all the time. On our bank records, it's shown. The revenue agencies can look up our transactions whenever we want. Hell, my Air Miles card will show exactly all the transactions I did to an airline company. I trade my information for transactions all the time, so I don't really care if it's private or not. So this is not an argument that really works against me. Let's see here. All right, there's no reason why Bitcoin should be the best of the cryptocurrencies. There's no reason why it should be. Okay, maybe Bitcoin isn't the best of all the cryptocurrencies. So then I'll ask you, what are the top 3 cryptocurrencies that you know of, that you've heard of? EOS, Ethereum, Bitcoin? Fine. Invest in all of them. Take the same amount of money you would have put in Bitcoin and put it in the top 3 of the most popular ones that you know of. Fine, you're covered. And still you get a part of the cryptocurrency pie. The first isn't always the best. Have you heard this? That the first creation, the first invention of a thing is not usually the best thing. So why invest in the first iteration? Wait for the later iterations. Right. Well, that doesn't always happen in the technology space. In the internet, we're still using version 1 of the internet. In fact, they were planning on making a better internet, and this one became so popular and so used and so networked that we can't really switch over to another one right now unless some specific crisis compels us to. We're still using the first internet. Smartphones. Apple came out with the first smartphone, the iPhone. Now, there are other smartphones that came afterwards. In fact, there are better smartphones now, technologically, or some features that you particularly like. There's another smartphone out there that'll do it better. But still, Apple is a huge part of the pie. So maybe Bitcoin isn't going to be the cryptocurrency to rule all cryptocurrencies, but it's likely to still stay popular. And it's still worth investing inside of it. Plus, it's not guaranteed that a new one will come or that a new one will supplant Bitcoin. So if you're going to get into it at all, get into it now. So people say that Bitcoin counts on the greater fool problem, right? Some things are only valuable because you can find someone else in order to buy it. So you were a fool to get it, and you just need to be able to unload it on someone else who will pay more for it. Okay, well, here's the issue. That's how all assets that are a store of value are treated, right? If you buy a piece of land that you don't plan on building anything on, you're buying that piece of land because you believe that in 5 years, in 10 years, you might be able to sell it for more. I mean, why else are you buying it? If you buy a collectible, a comic book that you think will go up in value, or a trading card that will go up in value, well, what you're banking on is that the next person will pay you more for it than you paid for it. This is something that happens with assets all the time. Even if you're going to buy gold in order to store the value of your wealth, you're not turning this gold into jewelry. You're not using it for industrial practices. You're storing it because you believe someone in the future will buy it for more. So I don't understand why this requires a greater fool. It's only a greater fool problem if you're saying that the thing that you store your money into has to always be practical to you as it is without ever needing to sell it to someone else. And that's not true for all kinds of assets. Here's the thing that really gets me. So all the reasons against investing any money into Bitcoin are there. They're not really convincing. And since you don't have to invest a huge amount, what's the harm in putting a little bit in order to get a taste of the potential profits? So Bitcoin went from $10 an ounce. Here's the story, right? Bitcoin went from $10 a Bitcoin all the way up to, in 2011, all the way up to in 2017, went up to $20,000 a Bitcoin. And then it dropped precipitously. People jumped on the bandwagon. They thought they were going to get rich. It made a whole bunch of rich Bitcoin people, right? The Bitcoin millionaires. But then it lost like 80 to 90% of its value all of a sudden in a very short period of time. So people who bought it at $11,000 were pretty peeved when it dropped down to $4,000. They lost a lot of their money. But think about it. They jumped in when there was a huge hype about it, when it was rallying up. The people who bought it for $10, $50, $100, they don't care that it dropped down to $4,000. They still made a mint, right? You put $100 in that, and then you're still able to cash it out at $4,000. That's incredible. Plus, it's never even gone down past $4,000. And at the time of this recording, Bitcoin is above $7,000, right? And it's already crashed twice. That's an asset that apparently has no intrinsic value. That after crashing twice and losing massive amount of the worth of the Bitcoin, still trades at huge multiples for when people first bought it from 2011 to 2016. Isn't that incredible? If a crash of a thing makes something still cost thousands of dollars, I think there must be something there. And here's the thing. The projections for what Bitcoin can be worth in the future can be upwards of $100,000 or more, right? It could be worth 5, 10, 20, up to 100 times more than it is now. Hell, there's some estimates that it could be worth $1 million per Bitcoin. Now, do I know if that's going to be the case? No, I don't know. But if someone told you you can buy a lottery ticket right now for $50, and not only are you in this lottery for the chance of making $1 million now, you have this ticket forever. For as long as this lottery is open, you will always be a participant. Well, are you going to be the idiot who doesn't buy a ticket? Of course not. Hell, I've lost more money than that at a casino. Of course I'd buy a lottery ticket that never expires. That's basically what Bitcoin is. You don't know what it'll become. But if you put some money in that you're willing to lose anyway, who cares if it drops to zero? If it has the potential of making 20 times or 100 times, that's incredible. You want to be part of that ride. So this is the way I like to think about it. Someone who's in med school, someone who wants to become a doctor, on average, when they leave their studies after spending some years in studying and doing their residency, they might have anywhere between $150,000 to $200,000 in debt. And that's in Canada and the United States. $200,000 in student loans. They're willing to put that money in because they believe that on average, they'll be making $300,000 every year as a practicing doctor. And a doctor will be able to work on average about 36 years of their life. So from like 29 onwards. And so for every year, they're making $300,000 and eventually pay off that student loan. And at the end, they're expected to make gross $10 million. That's like the average amount of money that a doctor will make over 36 years of being a doctor. Now think about that. $10 million gross that they make means that after taxes, it's about, let's say 45% taxes. They're a little bit north of $5 million. That's their take-home money. So let's not count any of the extra frivolous thing that they're spending. Let's not count their mortgage or property taxes or kids, or if they have a divorce and they have to pay alimony or whatever it is, or lawyer fees, malpractice insurance. Medical malpractice insurance. Anything. Let's put aside all the money that they might have to pay down from the $5 million. They still make $5 million. Well, if they invested $200,000 in their education and Now, at the end of 36 years, they made $5 million. That means they got a 25 times return, right? That's a pretty good return. But look at all the effort they needed to put for that return. I'm not saying it's not worthwhile. I'm saying they're willing to put that effort in over years of their life, over more than 40 years of their life, in order to get a 25 times return. And Bitcoin is saying you might get a 25 times return with just putting a little money inside of a Bitcoin. Just downloading an app, giving a little bit of information, transferring some money, and buying this Bitcoin. You're also opened up to 25 times return. Now, that doctor isn't guaranteed that money. Anything can happen to them, right? Health concerns, the demand slowing, a pandemic can cause it so that the doctor can't go to work or loses a bunch of their patients. They could be in the wrong area, the wrong time. They could study the wrong thing that becomes obsolete. AI could take over their job. They're opening themselves up to the idea that their investment in themselves might be worth $0 or less than they thought, but they're still trying it. So if they're willing to do that for a 25x return with those conditions, why aren't you willing to do that for a 25 times return for Bitcoin? Hell, cut off your subscription to, you have Disney Plus, Netflix, Hulu, cut 2 of them down, put that subscription money into Bitcoin, do that for a couple of months, and then you're part of the game. To me, that's all I needed to think about to know that this is a no-brainer. Why not be part of the action? All right, well, that's all I have to say about Bitcoin, at least for now. I'm sure I'm going to have more to say about it later, because really, you don't have a lot of options out there for like 20 times, 50 times, 100 times return. I mean, if you do, go for it, right? You have other options, other ways you can make money quickly with a little bit of investment down. You go ahead and do it. I hope it's not a pyramid scheme. You go ahead and try it out. But I haven't found any. So I'm putting a little bit of money into Bitcoin, and I'd like you to do the same, because I want us all to be rich together, or, lose our money all at the same time. Either way, I'll be happy with it. Thank you very much for giving your time. If you have any questions, put it in the comments. Anything else, any arguments that you'd like me to rebuttal, put it in the comments. I'll love to answer them. And if you think that I'm completely off my rocker and you have so many more reasons why I shouldn't have Bitcoin, please put up a video of your own. Let's go back and forth. I'd love to argue with you.